How did the night unfold, like, for you guys, beyond the obvious?
Yeah, I mean, it's
activity
not
of the games?
not the action or activity we're hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
We were trying to move around with a couple targets, and we were unable to get anything done.
Did you, yeah, I mean, would you characterize it as guys that you really wanted to go after? Are you disappointed, or like, how does?
I mean, look, we're excited about how the board looks tomorrow, but certainly there was a couple guys we thought we had much higher than where they went, and so disappointment is a strong word, but you have the draft to draft, and we're 30 in, we didn't draft yet.
How do things look for tomorrow?
Good, I think. I mean, the funny, last year we had 31, we thought it was going to be so cool, and it was manipulated all night, so maybe we can reciprocate that kindness last year. So we'll redo the board right now. We just celebrated Ed Tapscott and Zarco's 30th draft. So if you hear the cheers, it was for that. It wasn't for the lack of activity. So we'll huddle up and see what tomorrow looks like.
Tim, when you look at, what's your conversations with Ant like, kind of as you're trying to continue to build this team and take that next step?
Yeah, they're constant. He has a great, Ant has great wisdom. So it's anything we do, he's going to be a part and parcel of it. We spent a couple weeks ago. We spent a couple hours hanging out at his house, just talking about the team, what we could do, and also, we want to ensure he continues on this upward trajectory. We have such high hopes for him. We think he can go down as one of the best players of all time. So his input is invaluable. All players' input from our team. There's things they see we just simply don't see. So we're very fortunate that he's a guy that knows the league, knows players, and loudly shares his opinions.
How much belief does he have, like, in where you guys are going and like what's next for this team?
Yeah, I think he's super, super excited. I think he's, there's been countless things we could have done. I think our roster is pretty well thought of league-wide. And when you go to your leaders like Ant, you say it takes this to get that, and the conviction he has in our guys is evident when you say, no, we're not trading this guy. So I think the whole room's excited. I think we're ready to continue to try to take the next step. But Ant's just such a competitive guy. He just wants to ensure that we're moving in the right direction and we keep getting better and better.
Tim, you mentioned after the season ended how much you like the sub-26 core.
Sounds like a band.
Right. Is this a time to lean into that as a franchise, and what specifically about maybe where they're at in their careers gives you the idea that they're ready to take on more responsibility? Yeah,
it's funny when we picked up Anthony and Jaden's fourth-year option, we talked about how many different faces you're going to see because they're so young, right? So it could be various iterations of it. We think certainly Ant has already taken monster steps. He's one of the best players in the NBA. We know Jaden has another couple years to get to. I mean, there was some really loud moments in the playoffs. Nas, when given the bigger opportunities, he always produces. So those guys have been clamoring for more opportunity and more responsibility, and I think they're going to get it.
What does more gears for Jaden look like when you say that?
I think consistency across the board. I think that we got to unlock some of his playmaking. Really offensively, there's not much he can't do. We saw in that closeout game versus Denver. His shooting continues to improve. He's such a natural mid-range scorer. He's so big at the rim. But if we think we know he could be a special player, it's got to be consistent, right? It can't be some nights 20, some nights 4 or 5. So it's not just a physical approach, it's a mental approach, the willingness to accept the added responsibility. We think he's ready for it.
It does seem like with creation, you need at least 2 guys who can do that. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like Jaden and even Nas can take on more of that? Do you feel like that's something that needs to be added to the roster?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're always looking for more connectors and more playmakers. I think, over beers, I could talk for 2 hours about the complete lack of passing in the NBA with all this want-to-know skill development. But we certainly, their playmaking is different, but both guys have a playmaking component that they show here and there, and it's got to be more consistent. I think, Ant's going to be a guy that's going to continue to see the court more. The game will slow down like it does every year. And then we're extremely excited about Ayo, with a little more freedom, a little more open floor. I think he has a lot of tools, not just as a scorer, but as a playmaker as well.
But are any of those guys who you think in the half court can crack a defense and be the initial guy to get into the paint, kind of get the blender going?
Yeah, I mean, I think Ant definitely can. I mean, I think he's one of the best guys in the league at creating for himself and others. I don't know if it's a reference to like a kind of the dying breed of traditional point guards. I think we're going to have to be creative in how we play make around Ant. Do we want the ball dominant guy, pointing out waiting for him to get open. How do we get him more catch and shoot looks is really important, right? He's an excellent catch and shoot guy. But, I think if you look around the NBA, even in the finals, I think traditional point guard play is evolving. We certainly need help in that area, but we don't want to undersell what we have currently relative to playmaking, specifically with Io, Ant, and Jaden. And I thought, quite frankly, we probably unlocked something with TJ at the top of the floor that we didn't see all year.
How do you reproduce or get more if you don't have a point guard, like more ball handling, playmaking? Is that something you see doing more collectively as a group?
I mean, you can acquire a point guard, certainly. That's, you can also, it's some of your copycat league. I don't think there's a lot of pure point guard play throughout the league. I think some of the other elite Western Conference teams probably lack that pure point guard play that you're alluding to. But look, we got to manufacture it. We have to ensure that we're creating as many good shots as possible, specifically for Ant. And whether that's on our present roster, whether it's looking outside of our team, it's something that we certainly have to address.
You've been banging the drum for Micah for years. Happy to see him get his opportunity here.
So excited. He's such a great guy, well-deserved. He's been working so hard. I mean, Portland got a great coach, even a better person. I'm sure he'll make a bunch of money off court doing a bunch of ads. And the only Emmy-winning head coach, I think. It's just awesome. He'll be missed, but we were so excited when he called. We were through the roof excited.
What do you have to replace with him leaving?
Certainly one-liners. Just personality. He has such a great feel for the league. He has such a good understanding. He's been around it so long, and just a wonderful teammate and an even better friend.
And then with the new collective bargaining agreement, and it's been something to learn over these transaction windows. Just how much has that sort of progressed for your group and just kind of around the league of understanding this new environment?
Yeah, I think we have a pretty good sense of it, and it's very punitive, right, as you progress, and then there's real financial realities relative to the tax if you're in there over and over. So I think I think now we kind of understand the rhythm of it. A couple years ago we were still kind of curious as to how much it would impact some of the transactions. I think we have a pretty good sense. I mean, every team's at a different point of their financial cycle. Some are trying to get off money, some are trying to take money for more assets. So I think it's kind of reached a point where we understand the kind of the rhythm and the flow.
Are you confident right now that what happened to you guys at the top of the second round last year will not happen again tomorrow?
Top of the second. Not really.
Yeah.
No. No, I think we're in a different kind of economic world. There was tremendous pressure on us last year that teams were able to kind of exert that pressure. And quite frankly, what happened was, some of these guys had really good deals in place, and we weren't ready to commit to those deals because of some of our financial realities. And you certainly don't want to be, to not make sure you're doing right by the kids and the agents who we have great relationships with. So it was unique. We thought it was going to be really cool until 9 a.m. the next morning. Again, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I think we're in a different place than we were last year, and the board's probably in a different place.
Tim, what are some of the maybe conversations with ownership as you discuss? You mentioned the tax before, going into the tax for a third straight season here potentially. Just what has your communication been like with them, especially when you're going into a year you're down a starter from last season? Just what is that conversation?
Yeah, it's been it's been consistent. I've been very fortunate since when I got here. Glenn and Becky, Mark and Alex. It's about winning. If the moves can exponentially increase our chance to win at the highest level, we're all in. We can't be irresponsible fiscally, right? We can't ignore the real realities and the increasing punishment as you get deeper and deeper into the tax. But we're here to win. We're here to try to get over the hump. Last year we won another round, but we lost a round earlier than the 2 previous years. But again, the goal at some point is to have this press conference like a week ago. Not after the first round of the draft. That's what ultimately is going to govern all our moves.
If you do win, you still have to talk after the draft.
If I win, I'll quit 3 days later. I promise. I'll be on the speaking circuit the rest of my life. Yeah.
Tim, at the last press conference, you mentioned basketball IQ, connectivity being the priorities. As you're going into the next phase of the offseason, is that still kind of the priority you're feeling this roster needs?
Yeah, I think collectively it's 2 traits that every team needs, but I think it's one that we really need. I think we got a lot of really talented guys, and also at times I don't think, specifically to our young guys, we don't give them enough credit for how much they've won given their age. If you compare it to a lot of their peers who are 23, 24, and 25, and what their team success was or wasn't, but it's something that at times we just don't have enough of. So any way we can get it, it's going to be impactful, and it's something that will, again, kind of be overarching for all our acquisitions.
Tim, you kind of mentioned the point guard position a moment ago. How much did Dante's injury alter your approach to free agency at all, if at all, really in regard to his situation where you're looking?
Well, you're down a really, really good player. You're down a guy who's kind of the heart of our team relative to every 50-50 ball, his toughness, and obviously his shooting makes everything so much easier. So it adjusts our approach because we're down one of our top players, but it doesn't shift everything globally. We're still trying to achieve the same things.
Yeah, tomorrow, obviously, but do you know heading into free agency what you're prioritizing or what you definitely feel needs to be addressed with this team?
I have no idea. I'm sure. Yeah. I don't know. Hey, like anything else, it's so much is going to be cost dependent, right? It's not. We don't have an endless amount of resources to add, but we do have some flexibility. We're not allowed to contact these guys yet. If you look at our roster, as we enter free agency, there's going to be certain, big holes, and how do we address them? But much like the draft, we're oftentimes best player available, and it's the market was going to dictate what we can and cannot do.
We've seen that.
A couple of these transaction windows, you've made a move to kind of create flexibility and then sort of enter into see what kind of comes together there. What goes into sort of using that as a strategy, or why has that been the best move for you guys?
I mean, everything's so different. Sometimes it's financially motivated. Sometimes it's, hey, we think the more nimble we are in this next deal cycle, the more things present themselves. Sometimes it's, we have to re-up the guys, so we want to be a year ahead of it. So I wouldn't say it's one consistent thing. Certainly, the more optionality you have, usually the better you can make moves. But I don't think there's one way to do it. I think every year is different. To your question, injuries can impact things. Where you are kind of in the cycle of your team can impact things. I think we're going to put a huge emphasis on internal development. We think we have a couple guys that had very limited roles last year that are capable of a lot more, not just a little more, but a lot more. So all those things come into play, but it really depends on the time and the year.
You talk about TJ specifically?
I think TJ was wonderful. I think he was a revelation late in the season in the playoffs. We're extremely excited about Yohan. I mean, I think if you talk to anyone in the gym, some of the plays he makes are pretty impressive. We think he has tremendous defensive versatility. I think we'll be a bit surprised in summer league by his kind of ability offensively. And then again, it's our best 24, 23, 25, 26-year-old guys. These guys, best basketball is well in front of them. We've seen them, specific to Nas, Jaden, and Ant, take consistent steps each year, and we expect that to continue.
What would you be comfortable with Yohan taking on next year?
I don't know, first team all league,
Yeah.
all defense. That'd be
You
cool.
good with that?
Yeah, that'd be all right.
Yeah.
Whatever Finchie thinks. I just think he's going to make a huge impact defensively. He doesn't make mistakes offensively. He's exactly the type of work ethic, self-motivated, tough player we're looking for. And I think he has a physical profile that a handful of guys in the league have.
Just because we don't know when we're going to talk to you next, obviously you and Kat had a really good relationship while he was here. Just what were your thoughts of him kind of getting to the peak this season?
It was awesome. I mean, I text Kat a lot. Mike Brown, we shared an office together. We had another colleague, Dapo, who left early this season to work with Mike. So we were a heavy Knicks team, and just to see, it could not be more well-deserved. He's just a great, great guy. I thought it was great for the league, great for the city. I think it's just a cool story. Seeing Kat win, he's from Jersey, seeing the Villanova guys win. So, we generally root for the Western Conference teams, but because of Kat and some of the other relationships, we were just cheering like crazy. It was really neat to see.